Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jesus Taxi Show. This is episode number 26. It's the first time we're doing the Jesus Taxi podcast. And I'm here with a great friend today named Jason T. We're going to have a great time together. So stick around for the best 30 minutes of your day.
Cause you're the reason. You're the reason. You're the reason. You're the reason. You're the reason.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jesus Taxi Show. I'm here with Jason T. We're going to have a great time talking about so many great things today. I'm excited to be in the studio. This is the basement of my house in Castle Rock, Colorado. And you guys have seen me film in Albuquerque and Nashville and going to be probably in Detroit later this year and maybe New York and New Jersey. But right here, down home in the basement with my friend Jason. So we're going to get into it and welcome Jason T to the Jesus Taxi Show, and glad you're with me here today. So,
hey, thanks, Dr. Hanson.
Hey, there we go. I'm going to shake your hand across the long table there.
Man,
so,
what a treat! Inaugural podcast, huh?
I know, you and I doing this for the first time in the basement.
That's
right?
Such a gift, right there.
And you're a music fan, so I know that putting you in front of all of my guitars, mandolins, electric guitars, all that. My little Nashville Gibson garage is right behind you there. So
I know it felt electric. I just didn't know what it was.
Right?
But now it is. It's this.
Yep. You and I went to Billy Strings together.
Oh, and then I learned immediately how to play upright bass because of you.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a fundraiser picnic.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, actually, we played at the Coffee Collective
first
downtown.
Which was incredible.
Yeah.
To play for all those students with special needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing.
In fact, I saw your reel today where you were, I don't know when you posted it, but it was on my feed today.
Oh,
you were
no
playing
way.
an upright bass, and it was like, it said volunteer musician or volunteer something. And
that was just an absolute dream of mine.
it was awesome.
Yeah. Volunteer. God volunteer.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And what was so cool is when I was playing Wagon Wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
yeah.
And so,
which is my wife's favorite song.
Oh, is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. So we were playing Wagon Wheel, and you had the camera on you playing upright bass, and you're nailing it, man. You're nailing the notes. So you made a few mistakes here, and there's no big deal. It's your first gig, man.
Nobody noticed.
You're gonna make a few, and but you were laughing, like you're playing, and you're joyful, and you're laughing while you're playing bass.
Well, I can't believe you brought that up first, because that's like a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I mean, On the Road,
Right.
Grateful Dead,
Of course.
Fish, seen it all, been it all, traveled the world, and then all of a sudden, here in Greenwich Village, we see Billy Strings.
Right.
We walk out of that show. I talk to him. I'm like, I want to be that guy right there, the guy who's playing upright bass. And you just didn't say anything. Walk away. Next day, hey, why don't you come on over? I got an upright bass for you. And I'm like, how do you just have an upright bass lying around?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, where do you get that from?
Well, I'm a lifelong musician, right? So grew up born in Detroit, went to Pentecostal churches my whole life. My mother was the piano player at church, organist. In fact, my grandpa on my mom's side was also a minister. So he was a Methodist preacher. So my mom was playing piano in church from the time she was 12. So she was she could sight read the hymnal, play a little bit by ear, Of course, being in Detroit, soul music, R&B, Motown, anything with a beat and a bass line, So I grew up on that kind of music and gospel music, both Southern gospel and black gospel, or what they call urban music, right? Or urban gospel. And then I was in Christian rock bands and all that kind of stuff too.
That's amazing.
So I've always collected musical instruments in all the various genres that I've played, but in church or playing in jazz or blues or rock bands or Christian music, whatever.
I mean, I wish we could take people around to show you your basement, because it's more than just what you're describing. Right. So just so everyone knows, there's a wall behind me of everything from mandolins to guitars to basses. We have a whole nother room out there with a setup of drums.
Yeah.
And other acoustic instruments.
Yep.
And it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, especially for someone coming from my background.
Yeah.
I used music as an escape.
Yeah.
So it was the only like constant or consistent thing. So every time I went to a show, I knew not only was the music going to be great, but the people, the food, the fun.
Right.
But of course, come on, I was a kid, so the party.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was just a great time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was really enjoyable. So to be able to play it with you on stage
Oh, it's so fun.
after 1,000 shows plus
Right.
was like a total dream come true. So thank you,
Oh,
Dr. Hanson. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And you're the ideal fan for any musician, no matter the style, whether it's rock music or bluegrass or whatever, because I just remember standing next to you at that Billy Strings show.
Yeah.
And the entire time you're like dancing. You're like, if you know the words, you're singing along. Like, you're so joyful. Like, I'm like, okay, I had to pace myself. I sit down because sometimes I just sit down and I want to watch them pick. Like, I want to watch this. Okay, what scales, what chords, what are the transitions? I want to see how the musicians look at each other for transitions. Like, how do they catch tempos off of each other? Like, who's setting the tempo here? Is it Billy or is it the drummer? Like, or is there a click track in their earphones? Like, so I'm thinking technical a lot musically, you know?
Yeah, that's incredible. And now I finally understand because you're always like, you're the ultimate fan. Well, one, I'm not unique. You should see my group of friends. They blow me away, which blows my mind. But now I understand what you're saying, how an ultimate fan compared to you just spoke like a true musician.
Right.
The technicality of it, the moving. I'm there just like, is the vibe good? Does this feel good? Is the music good? Is everyone having fun?
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And then where's the next show, of course?
Yeah. So I'm like, I think did you say you worked in a studio at one point? Or?
Yeah, Rancho Mirage Music People in Coachella Valley, California.
Yep.
I was working with great friend of mine, helping him, mentoring him go through the last 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
And then the first year of college.
Yeah.
And their family was
You
amazing.
ran the monitor mix for the Dead once or twice or
I
something?
never ran the monitor mix
Oh.
for the Dead, but that would be incredible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe in my own home, and maybe on some funny substances.
Right.
Yeah. No.
But you were at a pro studio in Palm
pro
Springs.
studio in Palm Springs. They did a lot of voiceovers. They also recorded a lot of local artists. So a couple people passed through, like the Animals, and we did. Adam West was doing voiceovers in there, and a whole array of other local favorites, as well as people coming in from LA. Yeah, constantly recording. So it was great to be around it
for sure.
And growing up, I played the saxophone, but I didn't play it well. I just played it for whatever the school band was, right?
Yeah.
You know, nothing great. Didn't practice. I wanted to play the drums. I wanted to play the guitar.
Yeah.
Mom said saxophone, so I was locked into the saxophone.
Yeah.
I wanted to play the Beatles. They wanted me to play anything but the Beatles. So I wasn't really attached to it, so to speak.
Right.
But it was the music that really got me excited.
Yeah.
So that was what was really cool about it.
I get that.
Yeah.
I totally
now
get that.
finding you, it's like a cornucopia of like dreams come true musically. I don't even think it ended with the upright bass, but I think it started with drums, saxophone.
Yeah.
It was like everything you could possibly imagine under the sun.
Yep.
You put in front of me.
Yeah. And, and one thing I think maybe that you're learning about music that you didn't know before is that it can be painful. Like Jason,
I love everything you just said right now.
Jason was playing bass, and my upright, man, the strings on that upright, they're like this thick, and so
they're like cords, and cables.
And so his fingers were bleeding when they're doing this gig, at the park, and so we were hot. We were like. What do they call it? Super gluing his fingertips back on, doing the old Stevie Ray Vaughan thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
But the learning, and you're practicing, like you were learning scales. You're like doing the work that a musician has to do. Is like, what's the name of this note? Okay, now what's the name of that note? And what are the positions? And how do I pluck on the correct string at the right time? And to stay in time with the guy who's playing. And there's a lot to think about, especially in the beginning.
It's like an eye-opening experience too, because you don't realize how much work and effort goes into an hour and a half set.
Right.
Until you're in it.
Right.
It's like, because as a fan, it's always like, let's make this longer.
Right.
Why are they cutting it off so short? But it's incredible how fast time goes when you're listening, but how slow it goes when you're playing. right? Like, especially when you're a little bit finding your way.
Right. If you're in pain, right?
Definitely in pain. That was pretty funny. I think I ended that set with 4 Band-Aids. Not on 4 fingers, on each finger. And people coming over to like see how I was doing.
Right.
Because
there was blood on my base.
Yeah. Oh
right.
no.
It was great. It was great. No. I mean, if you have a gig and there's blood on your guitar,
Yeah.
man,
that's rock and roll.
Man, oh man, what did we do? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's rock and roll right there.
For sure.
For
sure.
The best part about it, we opened up with Dust in a Baggie.
Yes.
Billy Strings' go-to tune.
That's right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was a great set list.
We had so fun.
That was
and then when it warms up again here in Castle, we'll do more gigs, you know?
Don't
Coffee
threaten me with a good time.
And you know what? I'll let you play the tiny bass, the one that's behind you right there, that Squire Jaguar bass.
It sounds
much thinner strings.
More my speed.
We can plug it into an amp. You don't have to pull so hard.
Whoa. Amplify?
Yeah.
No, bro.
Well, I have another acoustic bass that isn't upright. It's more like the Tesla style, metal, unplugged kind of deal.
Well,
so you can do that.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, right? That's good. So, Jason, you are a real estate guy. I want to just show your page. It's Terrapin Homes of Colorado. Is that right?
Yeah, Terrapin
and
Homes, Colorado.
There's your smiling face right there.
Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, and you're selling.
Man, you came prepared.
Yeah, you're selling homes here in the Denver metro area.
Yeah, it's truly a blessing, honestly. It's really nice to be able to be of service to
it's a great little website there. Yep. So if I know that we talked about, you had a bunch of friends in California whose homes had burned, and I don't know if some of them may end up watching the podcast or whatever, but if someone was looking, to leave wherever they're coming from, like, hey man, it's getting there's too much drama here, or there's just too much. I've lived in this place long enough. I need to get out. John and I in a meeting early this morning, Motorcycle John, was talking about how rough Memphis was getting.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I would not go to Memphis unless I had a really good reason, because it's getting to be like Detroit.
Okay.
Just rough. You just like to go from your truck to inside the gas station to pay for your gas. You're like, golly, this is scary.
Yeah.
And so maybe you're in a rough town and you want to think about moving to Colorado. Man, this is a great place to live. And of course, we love Castle Rock, South Denver, but there's a lot of places in the Denver metro you could look.
It's really phenomenal. I mean, to think about it, it's kind of like my own story of getting here.
Right.
I mean, we came out here. I started coming out here since 2003.
Yeah.
So I felt very fortunate to be exposed to Red Rocks, to Boulder, Folsom Field, know the area, live in the area.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I started coming out for Labor Day weekend every year. Because, Fish was playing at Commerce City, so I started to know that area.
Right.
And then I saw the growth and the development. Yeah. I remember one year, my wife, who's also been Colorado native essentially, and lived in Denver, grandparents centennial,
right?
Since the 70s, seeing the growth has just been extraordinary.
Yeah.
That it's really remarkable to see how all inclusive and how all welcoming this community is, right?
Yep.
And it's like, we actually chose to move here following the lockdown. So we were in California. I was a school program specialist, administrator, teacher, cut all, great gig, great everything. Everything was awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Because I remember I was in recovery meetings, and a lot of people were still wearing masks, and we couldn't hold hands at the end of a recovery meeting.
Yeah.
And man, that was a scary time. And, and we were like, and then I remember it was near the end of when things were starting to loosen up. That's when I met you.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So we moved out here right at that time because we had our child November of 2019 and we locked down in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Right.
And like not everything that was going on. And, God bless those who lost their lives. It's terrible what had happened. And, but it allowed us the opportunity to be together and to bond. And I was able to be home for 18 months with my daughter.
Wow.
And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I had my hand in the real estate field out in California, but I was doing primarily online computer work, putting up people's postings. I learned from the great Bob Gibson, who had his brokerage out there. It's all a service-based industry, right? And everything is there, so you're there for the other people. You're not there for yourself. And it was exactly like the education field.
Yeah.
So I had such a good tie to the community out there that when we left, it was kind of in the middle of the night. Like literally, I was at a concert. I got a phone call during set break saying, hey, do you want to move to Colorado? I said yes, hung up the phone, and the next day we decided we're going to go back, we're going to resign, we're going to take everything. You know, we had pretty decent jobs, we had a good community, a great family, a good base. And then it was
you uprooted your whole life, right?
By the time that plane landed, we were on the phone with our realtor, who was a friend and a mentor of mine.
Yeah.
We were putting our house up for sale, and we were looking for homes already in Colorado.
Wow.
So this all happened within 18 hours tops.
Yeah. Was that a pretty scary thing to go through?
No, it was exciting, right? Because it's like, if you look where I came from, we were in the Coachella Valley, and it's great, and I love it, and everyone there is awesome, and I miss them, and I love you guys.
Yeah.
But there was nothing for my daughter to do, you know, and it was like coming out here, it opened up a whole new world.
Yeah, because it's all retirement community, right?
Primarily.
Yeah, and Castle Rock and the Front Range of Colorado is more young families and
more activity, less agriculture, more opportunity to go and do fun things with other people our age, her age. And like, I didn't realize how good we had it until, because I wasn't I'm not a cold, I'm just letting everyone know I'm not a cold weather person at all.
I am.
I love sandals,
like cold weather stuff.
love shorts, love waking up, not being like I'm invading a country, like having to put on all the clothes. So I'm walking around for the first week here. I'm by myself. My family's still in warm California. I'm freezing. It's snowing. And I'm wearing every single piece of warm clothing that I have.
Right.
And it's hilarious. There's a picture of me with literally like Yankees giant bullpen jackets and hats. And like, because I'm coming with nothing, right? Like I have all warm clothes. So we were about 3 months of going through this. And I was like, I can't believe I'm cold. I can't believe this. And then we're at a park. And it just literally snowed 7 inches the day before.
Yep.
And then the next day was 61 degrees.
Yeah. And the sun feels warmer.
And it was hot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we go to this park, and I'm just kind of going through the motions. And then I get there, and there's literally like 200 other children there.
Yeah.
And their families. And next thing you know, I was like, this is the place for us.
That's where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. And it's ever since then, it's been lovely. It's been amazing.
Let's go.
Yeah. So it's been kind of cool to be able to go through all of that.
Yeah.
And then be able to help others with that story who may have that holdup or that fear or anxiety of moving.
Right.
But it's really not. It's always worse in our mind than it is.
Yeah.
Than it is in reality, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think, you and I are both 12-steppers,
Yes.
And having from me, when I was in my younger years, struggling with drugs and getting clean from drugs, and then really having a pretty vibrant relationship with God in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and as a youth pastor and as a traveling Christian musician, doing all the things that I did, young dad, God had really taken good care of me, man. And so, I think it's weird how the whole thing with my relationship with God goes up and down, just like everything else in life, right? Sometimes I feel close. Sometimes I feel really far away. And then, there's times when I get the confirmation, like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
But then I'm always looking like, okay, what's the next thing? And where might God be leading me? Or where has the door open? And if you read about those of you who are not in recovery, but you read about the 12 steps, you have to some kind of intentionally foster a relationship with your higher power if you can at all muster it, if you can at all put that together. And even if the God of your understanding is confusing to you in the beginning, as long as it starts to make sense to you, there's a chance for you to really connect with God.
Exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's the simplicity of what was blocking me from allowing myself to be in the care of a potential outside force or outside. Why was I so wanting to be in control of everything? And now all of a sudden, life takes on a whole new meaning.
Right.
A new host of friends. People are all around you. It's that whole experience that we just wouldn't want to miss.
Yeah.
But it's almost like if we can't see the faith, believe in others having that faith, because you made the best comment now. It's like, it's not what we do when God's in our lives, but it's what do we do when we're distant from him. It's how do we attain or remove those blocks, so to speak, in order to get closer to the hand of God, to allow him to, or her, or whatever the concept may be.
Right. In the beginning, it's like, I don't even know who God is, but I'm willing to learn, or at least try,
completely.
Like, okay, the doorknob is God because that's what I had to turn to get into the meeting, That's what some people talk
for
about.
Me,
that.
it's like, it was so nice for the war being over.
Yeah.
And there was no more battle to fight, that I was just so happy to be alive that literally it was anything around me was a higher power, was, listening to people, just like even going to a grocery store, like these simple things that, people who don't understand take for granted.
Right.
Is like, it takes on a whole different meaning and a whole new way of life.
Maybe we should probably back up a little bit and tell. A lot of my audience knows my story more because I've shared it with a lot of people. We've had 26 episodes now. So,
and first podcast,
right? First podcast, right, everybody, right? Yeah, I'm gonna get the Tigers shirt. I love my Tigers shirt here. We're representing the Detroit people. But hey, so maybe back up. You grew up in New York and New Jersey a little bit.
Yeah, born in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Raised on Long Island.
Yep.
And went to school in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Bounced back and forth in and out of places, due to various addictions and afflictions. And 27 years old, got sent to a treatment facility through a friend of mine. And ever since then, my life has just taken on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
So it's been a fascinating experience where we're so able to talk about God, where it's, is everything or he isn't, right?
Right.
So it's like, he's either there or not there.
Yeah, that's right.
And what's our choice to be?
So what was the low point for you? Like what was the rock bottom for you to finally get you to feel like, I got to start turning this thing around?
So I started losing people early, right? Like in my life due to alcoholism and drugs. I remember in high school, people were dying of drunk driving on freeways, right? And then people were drowning when I was in college doing things while they were, intoxicated. And I was always able to kind of maintain, but I was also probably enabled a little bit.
And you were an athlete, right? You did.
I was an athlete, played baseball, basketball, and football through high school, had ideas or intentions of playing some stuff in college, but I could never make it. Just because of what I was doing. I cared more about the party than your
lifestyle. It was gotten away,
and then I just had no skills when I left high school for living on my own.
Yeah.
So it didn't take much. I mean, I was already kicked out of the dorms within my first, month or two.
Yeah, and
due to alcoholism.
Your parents' relationship was pretty rocky?
It wasn't rocky. It was just a lot of denial. Just because they didn't know. It was like everyone did the best they could, right?
Yeah.
But it was just one of those experiences where, I was like an outlier.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known how to handle me. Now having kids of my own, like I get it, right? Like you could probably relate too. I see you laughing, but it's like, it's a whole different meaning, right? Like, it's like, I was having this conversation with someone last weekend. We were out seeing Fish, the band in Mexico, and it was great. We were sitting by the pool. And
I'll find a couple of pictures and put it on the screen there for
you. And then we were sitting by the pool, and it was just like, when it's someone else's, it's easier to show. But when it's yours, it's hard to come to the realization, like, okay, I have to do something.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've had that experience already, having to get whatever potential services it is for my daughter, try to get her up to the level or whatever it may be. And she's doing great and I love her, but, it's just, we're all do the best we can with what we have to work with. And, so that's when the time came, the time came essentially. I had to move back into like my parents' house full time. I had to give up the place I had on the beach. I had to, one of my friends had passed away. Another one had died. I was actually woke up out of a blackout. I was here in Colorado, believe it or not.
Wow.
At Red Rocks seeing a string cheese incident.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I have to change. Like I knew I needed help. And the world was telling me I needed help long before that. Yeah. Right. I was kicked out of school.
Was it primarily drugs or alcohol or both?
It was both. It was essentially whatever was on the table. Like whatever was there, I was doing it. I just wanted to keep it going, to not think about how bad I was doing, right? Like, somehow miraculously, I didn't just finish undergrad. I also finished the graduate program.
Wow.
But once
you're highly functioning
alcoholic, highly functioning in regards to looking good to the outside,
right?
But not really being able to accomplish anything on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So the second I couldn't go any longer to school, my jig was up, man. Like I had to go do something with my life.
Yeah.
Also, a big part of it is the band that I was following around broke up. The lead guy got sober, and now runs recovery homes. And now it's like a sober environment,
right?
But he was kind of like the leader, because I didn't have any rudder.
Yeah. He was your Moses, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I had no rudder.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things that it just happens, right? And you don't know how or when or where. And it's like a person I worked with went through a treatment facility and it didn't work for them. And they said, you know what? You're life-saving. It's going to work for you. And he got me a scholarship for it. And that changed my whole life.
Yeah.
But of course I said no right away. And then I actually said yes, but then when they were like, okay, you're going tomorrow, I was like, no, next month, next week. And they were like, this was like June or July, and they were like, okay, fine, just come in Thanksgiving then. And I was like, no, I can't wait that long.
On your terms.
Yeah. I was like, I can't wait that long.
Yeah.
So he helped me out, pulled some strings, got me in. I went over, and then I knew my life was going to be different because I wanted it, right? I was asking for help since I was young. I was in it. I was in various programs since like 16.
Yeah.
So, the consequences were there.
Yeah.
The people were there. Everyone knew it but me.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't be happier today. I mean, it's like we talk about having a life beyond our dreams. And it's like I couldn't imagine what anything would be like if it wasn't for that. So.
Yeah, and you found a spiritual community in recovery, which is beautiful, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially and it's wherever you go, too.
That's right.
It's like hard for people to leave places.
That's right. Well, we're about halfway through our time. Can you believe we've gone almost 30 minutes already?
Oh, man.
It goes so quick.
Sorry about that.
But you're good. I want to invite anybody, if you don't have a spiritual family and you're not a person in recovery, let me tell you about a great church, Summit Church in Sedalia. If you're in the Denver metro area, why don't you give them a chance here on a Sunday morning at 10:30? Check this out. What do you look for at a good church? A loving spiritual family? Life-giving messages that help you draw closer to God? A place to raise your kids with moral values? A place to connect? A place to protect? And a place to grow? You can find all this and more at Summit Church of Douglas County in Sedalia, Colorado. Summit Church isn't a perfect church, but it's a loving spiritual family nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Sedalia. Come join us for an in-person worship at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time at 4240 North Perry Park Road in Sedalia, Colorado, 80135, or join us live on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Summit Church Sedalia. For more information about our ministry, visit mysummitchurch.com. Do you want to start a relationship with God? Visit 29minutes.org and learn more about how to have a friendship with Jesus Christ. And Jason, you actually came to my church one time.
I did. It was great.
So we had a good time. We were talking about trying to do something in the church basement for a while, and it didn't come through. But it was
well. We
cool.
may have a great opportunity now. We'll see how it goes this next 4 weeks.
That's right.
It might be a good place to host some event like that.
And our church did just get a funding letter from a church bank down in Albuquerque.
All right.
And so we do have the ability to borrow money if we find a building or a lease on somewhere that we could do ministry 7 days a week. And that's the thing, because we've been renting since I started the church. So now to actually be able to own or to have a long-term lease somewhere would be just a game changer for us as a ministry.
I know a good realtor that would love to help you out with that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's right. It could be very good.
Yeah. So that would be very great.
Right?
But it's incredible how when you remove all of that from your life, right, you'll be able to open yourself up to other gods or other people's understandings or their faith and their values.
That's right.
I never would have gone to a church like that or a church in general,
right.
Coming from a completely different religion.
Yeah.
if
Which
it wasn't
is?
for if it wasn't for
The Judaism,
recovery
right?
programs, yes,
Yeah.
it's coming from Judaism, yeah, bar mitzvahed. It went to temple, go to temple. Like I remember losing faith. The first time I lost faith was, and I might get a little emotional. I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it. I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Yeah, man.
I went to church to pray for. I went to temple to pray for my grandmother because she had a severe form of cancer. I didn't know how bad, and I was already kind of out there on the rails.
Yeah.
And I went by myself and I prayed for her on a Friday as part of the service, as part of the sermon, publicly stood up, said everything I needed to say, did everything. And she passed away that weekend. And it was like, that was kind of that separation of when I distanced myself from a God, right? I wasn't exactly having this great relationship.
Because you felt like God let you down?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I'd say within the last 5 years, I've been able to really pinpoint that, because things come more clearer the further you are away. So, I'm in my mid 40s now. I stopped all of that back in my 20s.
Right.
So it's, it took me, think about that. It took me that long to realize when that kind of break occurred or that separation. I mean, it's really remarkable to be able to come and do things like this, right? In the middle of a day on a Friday. Like, who would ever think about that? Be able to host workshops on a Saturday, right? Like, how exciting is this?
Right.
And it's like one of the cool things is we have a pamphlet that we cover is called How to Listen to God. So it doesn't matter where you come from or what it is. It's how do you remove your blocks? How do you sit quietly? And how do you take action to listen? Yeah. And it's incredible how to just be able to sit still.
That's huge. Yeah. I grew up, of course, I talked about Pentecostal, right? And of course, Pentecostals are well known for loud services, where, the people are speaking in tongues and they're dancing around, sometimes flopping around on the floor, or, it gets real wild in a Pentecostal church. There's a lot of praying and singing, but not a lot of listening, right?
A lot of going, right?
And so what was a new discipline for me in recovery in the 12 steps, one of them is thought through prayer and meditation to foster or increase our constant contact with God, or our conscious contact with God. So now I have a new practice where I light a candle, and this is every morning. So I light a candle, I set a timer for 7 minutes, and I just meditate on maybe something I read in the Bible that day, or something that came up in my recovery reading that day, or something that the Lord's been kind of talking to me about that day. And I just turn off the noise. Yeah, right. Makes sense. And then just because I always have a punch list, the brain is always firing in 100 different directions. I got some bad ADD, and like if I can just narrow down my day to 5 things, like what are the 5 major things that I need to do that day? And most of the time, it has something to do with my responsibilities, like who am I as a Christian? Who am I as a husband? Who am I as a dad, or as a pastor, or as a brother in recovery, or someone who's in the motorcycle ministry and all the other stuff that I do, or as a musician, and my role, the different responsibilities, roles that I have, I let that dictate, the guidance that I feel like God may be nudging me towards or taking me away from the things I had to do every day.
So that's pretty robust. Like, that's a pretty big statement to unpack, right? It's like, what is our role here, and what is our responsibility to not just to our fellows?
Right.
And it's pretty incredible to think that, one, you have that thought, because I never had that thought. I had to learn how to have that thought, right?
Right.
And it's it's actually a Christian-based methodology of, guidance and testing the 4 standards coming from the Oxford group, which is a Christian base group, right? Honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love.
Yeah.
So
how can you go wrong with those 4 things?
Exactly. Right. So it's like one of the greatest gifts, and some of the early founding fathers of 12-step fellowships was where they would sit in a room just like this, 3, 4, 5 people with a pad and a pencil.
Yep.
Not say anything.
Yep.
Read a small little passage or a meditation, and then they would sit there and write down their ideas.
Yep.
Right? They would write down what they were saying. That's just called, prayer, listening for the answers, right? You pray and you ask. Yeah. And then you're quiet and you listen. A lot of people don't listen. So this was to show you how to listen. So you write it down on your piece of paper.
Yeah.
Then after 7 minutes, 14 minutes, whatever the time is, 3 minutes, whatever the time is dictated, you open it up for sharing. And it's just simple words on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Something as simple as, take the dry cleaning, call mom, check in on the missus. Simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Are they honest?
Right.
Are they unselfish? Mm-hmm. Are they pure, as in, are you affecting anyone? And
right.
Are they loving and kind?
Yeah.
Is picking up the dry cleaning all of that? Pretty much.
Right.
Circle it, right?
Yep.
Circle it. Like, going out to make thousands of dollars. Is that honest? Is that unselfish? Is that pure and loving?
If the motive is right.
But if it's just something that
feed
you want
your
to
family, that's one thing. But if it's to
fair, okay.
Right?
So let's use a different example. Can we cut that one out? Then?
We would sell some houses, right?
But
right,
it's the point is if it's like
if it's for your own hedonistic pleasure seeking, then
correct.
It's not right. But
cross
if it's
that off the
if
list.
I'm blessed to be a blessing, that's another way of looking at it.
Cross it off the list, right?
Right.
Done.
Yep.
So that's not something you're doing today.
Right.
Call mom. Does it hit the 4 standards?
Yeah, definitely.
Circle that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And speak. So then you're left with a list of things to do that day.
Yeah.
And then when it opens up, you share that list. So now all of a sudden it goes from 2-way prayer
And then it's
between you and
accountability.
God to 3-way prayer. Because let's say you needed to pick up your dry cleaning today.
Yeah.
You write that on your list. And that's something that you would do today. So that's called 3-way prayer.
Yeah.
Hearing God speak through someone else. And it doesn't have to be this astronomical or crazy happening. It could be something as simple as picking up the dry cleaning.
Yeah.
But it's not, you're not stealing a car.
Right. Right.
So
that's right.
That's the how to listen to God mentality. So regardless of what sect or regardless of where we come from, we could all come together in this imperfect kind of environment and do something great.
Yeah, and I found early days, both with drugs and with alcohol, that it was very hard for me to sit in silence.
Oh,
I was so uncomfortable, man. I was so uncomfortable. Even if in like a recovery meeting, if they would do a meditation in a recovery room, it would be like my skin was crawling.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to jump up and run out of the room.
Yeah.
But I didn't. But it was a discipline that I had to learn had to learn to be still and pause and realize my brain needs a break. Like I just need to. If all I did was just not think about anything for 7 minutes, hey, I wasn't thinking about anything for 7 minutes. Like, because what other time of the day is
to the other side,
right? Right? If my brain did, I couldn't do that. Right?
Yeah.
And that would be the reason why I used to smoke cannabis. Was to tamp down the anxiety of a racing imagination. To
quiet the mind,
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Because meditation now brings you right into the moment.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what cannabis or alcohol or whatever your choice was did also. It brought you right then and there.
Yep.
It's all we cared about was just doing that.
Yeah. And that discipline of stilling your soul, stilling your mind, and intentionally saying, if God wants to talk, I'm listening.
Right.
I
mean, that's a huge step too. Think about how monumental that is. Everyone just prays for this. I want this, I want that. But then being able to listen for the answers. It's like, that's the big step forward.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my mentors used to say, one mouth, 2 ears.
Yeah. Right.
So
that's great.
When you pray and meditate, you probably ought to listen twice as much as you speak, and like, whoa, that's a lot of meditation.
Yeah. You try to tell your old self that.
Right. Really hard.
Yeah.
Impossible. Impossible without the Spirit helping you.
Now let's flash back. So if you don't mind me asking, how far along are you now?
From cannabis, we're talking about 1986.
Oh wow!
And then from alcohol, I'm coming up on my 6-year chip.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
So let's just say 6 years from all mind-altering substances.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's flash back 7 years ago.
Yeah.
If you were to given the choice of a spiritual way of life or an alcoholic death, what were you going to choose?
In the moment,
it was
a toss-up.
Yeah, that's even incredible. no way me 18 years ago is choosing a spiritual way of life.
Right.
You know, I'm driving to
I
the
knew
end.
what the answer should be. I know what I was supposed to say.
Yeah, you always knew the right thing to do, right? You had that moral compass. Yeah.
Wait, I didn't do it, but I knew what I should say. Right. Exactly.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, there, but for the grace of God, right? God is the one who made a way when there wasn't a way.
Right.
You know?
But never abandoned us.
Right.
Never left us. Was always there. Think about all the seconds and inches of life being different today.
Phew, I got goosebumps just
Right?
now.
If only, you know, we made a right instead of a left.
Right.
You know, we went backwards instead of straight. Like, just think about how close we were to everything changing.
Yeah.
Not being here, not doing this.
You could write a song about that. I see all those guitars behind you. Go, man, we could write a song about that.
And you know what? If now's the time, that's it. You know?
Right?
Yeah, please feel free. Use this.
There, but
Credit.
for the grace of God. Right? There's some rhythm to it. There, but the grace
I
of
wish
God.
I was this original.
You're an inspiring person. You're an inspiring person.
Man, you know, you're a party of one, Wayne.
That's awesome. When we rehearsed for this gig that you played bass on. Well, for the second gig you played.
Yeah.
We played for a fundraising picnic here in town.
Which
and
was
your daughter
beautiful.
came over, and your daughter's a little ADD like me. You know, she's bouncing off the walls, doing everything.
She's just so happy to be around people in music.
Right?
It's unbelievable
that's
how much
great.
fun she has in
And
shows.
she found my trampoline. I have a workout trampoline that I do my high intensity training, cardio on 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And she found that trampoline, and then you bought a trampoline.
Yeah. Well, you know, like every good person who has had some sort of a addiction of wanting more, we now have two.
Oh, you have two
Yeah,
trampolines?
we now have two. We have one downstairs so
One
she
for
could
you
work
and-
out with me.
Okay.
And then we have one upstairs just so we could have.
Yeah. It's good, right?
Yeah, it's great.
And you get a little cardio in, and it's fun. And
I find myself bouncing on that midday when I'm on calls or when I'm on,
Yeah.
you know, doing some sort of non-spiritual activity,
Yeah.
just bouncing up and
Oh,
down.
yeah. I think when my brain is going all those different places, something about that rhythmic jarring, it kind of just brings it just centers me. I don't know why that is, but it does.
She like transformed her whole musical career that day, by the way.
Really?
She grabbed the microphone, sang Wheels on the Bus. Now she's doing karaoke. She's playing the piano. You know, we're getting her lessons.
Yeah.
It's like she performed for her class with her guitar,
Oh,
right?
cool.
Like, yeah.
That's cool.
So it's been pretty remarkable.
That's
So
really
thank you
fun.
for letting her into your space.
Of course, man.
Yeah,
of
it
course.
was like-
And I
it
try to
was
do that
awesome.
with all my kids. All my kids love music. So here's the trouble with me as a dad, that also a professional musician. They are all musicians, but they don't want to play in front of me because they don't want me to scrutinize their playing or their singing.
Absolutely.
And so it breaks my heart. Like, if I could just turn that off, if I could just turn off that critic mind. But it's in there.
You've got to admire their self-awareness, though. Like, it took me years to not share ideas with my parents because I realized that one, they were probably never good, and two, like, there would always be a hole in them somewhere. So, like, good for them learning early, right? It took me till I was in my 30s.
Yeah. So they got to filter early.
Yeah. So it's smart. It's good. They're going from interdependence to independence.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to take another break. Talking about creativity, there's some creative ways you can support the Jesus Taxi podcast and the Jesus Taxi show. We have a merch shop now, and I want to tell you all about it. So give us a quick listen for a minute. Maybe you want to buy a t-shirt or some kind of merch to help support the show. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching the Jesus Taxi Show. Do me a quick favor today. This is Wayne Hanson. I'm the host of the Jesus Taxi Show, and we would love to have you visit our Facebook page. Give us a like and a follow, a subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel. And on the top of our page, pinned to the top, is our merch shop. If you go to the Jesus Taxi Show merch shop, it looks a lot like this, and you'll see on the merch shop we've got muscle shirts and trucker hats. There's a Jesus Taxi air freshener, a sweatshirt. We've got our Wings 91 of protection sweatshirt from our annual motorcycle outreach, some stuff there from Summit Church, and we would love to have your support. So go to the Facebook page for The Jesus Taxi on Facebook and like us, and then buy some merch and support the ministry. We're so glad you watched the show today. God bless, and we'll see you next time. All right, so we're back. I just want to try to fit in all this stuff, and I know that we're going to cut some of this down for broadcast later. But Jason T, we got Jason T here on the show, and you're selling houses, and I'm trying to still write country music and pitch songs to publishers, and was in Nashville last week, and played at the Bluebird Cafe, and that was a good time, and I've been co-writing both gospel music, country music, rock and roll, and just trying to continue to increase my skills as a musician and not stop, but always get better, you know. And I don't want to stop being a pastor. It's my calling is to love on my church and share the gospel with people. But music is just a lifelong passion of mine,
And in fairness, book yourself early because we tried to book you this coming up, and you already had a gig.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I'm going to be in Dallas at the end of this month at the NRB convention. This show won an entertainment series category for the National Religious Broadcasters, and a few of these episodes from the first 26 are going to make it probably to Christian television.
Congratulations!
So, thank you.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is super exciting.
Celebrate that.
That's right. And I'll probably film a couple episodes with a few of my Texas friends down there, and maybe I'll do some music gigs. And
that's so cool.
And
so I remember when you went down for South by Southwest.
Yes.
You played at the surrounding areas in the cafes.
Sober by Southeast.
Was it amazing?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, how was
amazing
that experience?
Place. Amazing.
Yeah,
there's some great musicians in Austin. What's crazy about the South by Southwest conference itself is it's kind of lost its musical moorings, I think. It's just become just a lot of DJs.
Yeah, fair.
And not a lot of, I think when South by Southwest started, it was rock bands, it was blues artists, it was Tejano, Mexicali kind of stuff. There was a lot of Latin music, and now it just seems to be straight DJs and corporate music. So I don't know.
Let's flash back a little bit because you did mention the Pentecostal church earlier, right?
Right.
So I had an opportunity to go to the first Bonnaroo in your home state of Tennessee, your adopted home state.
That's right. That's right. Bonnaroo.
So I knew I needed help back then.
Stonerville.
Right? I'm 21 years old, right?
Talk about psychedelic experiences.
But man, it was the greatest music festival of its time.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I remember not just leaving there and being like, I could never go back here again because I had the time of my life.
Right.
But
too much fun.
Going to a Pentecostal church and ask them for help because I was done then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just remember the experience. You're like, I don't think we have the help you need. But they were everywhere.
Right.
And, I was just a kid running around Tennessee.
You're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, chicken without a head.
Yeah.
Seeing great music, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then the next year it turned into all DJs.
Yeah.
Or primarily DJs, right?
Yeah, I think it's a trend, but hopefully that trend is going to get rolled back, man, because it's not very musical.
No, but we just had this conversation last week regarding the bluegrass music and how popular it is.
Yeah.
Think about a lot of those old pickers and those old players seeing Billy Strings, for example, come to the Ball Arena and sell out 3 nights.
That's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
It's totally incredible.
It's just the fact that even for those who are not knowing, just no drums. Right, a band with no drums.
Yeah,
it's just
think how easy their setup is.
Yeah. Really,
one radio mic. Mm-hmm. Bring your instruments.
Think about how large it's come, and now it's at the height of height.
Oh, so crazy!
It's so cool.
Totally cool.
It really must have been neat for someone like you to see coming from your background.
Yeah. No, and so my roommate at North Central was the light man for Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, no way.
And he had a recovery story that was pretty outlandish, too. He grew up in Findlay, Ohio, and then moved to Columbus. And he was a coke dealer in Columbus and made a lot of money selling cocaine. And his low point was when one of his friends from high school that was a ballerina overdosed and died.
Ooh.
And then he went to Teen Challenge, which is a Pentecostal recovery center that Dave Wilkerson started from crossing the Switchblade, Times Square Church. And so my roommate went through Teen Challenge and got clean off of drugs. And then he still had all of his cocaine money. So he for a while had bought the most expensive light and laser I don't know what you call it, equipment, like metal concert production company that he purchased. I think it was a couple $1 million, and he had the largest one east of the Mississippi. So he toured with Kiss and Rat and Poison and a bunch of these, and he was the light guy for all these big metal acts. And then when he got completely clean off of cocaine, he sold his light gear and he went to North Central and he paid for 4 years of Bible college in advance in cash at the registrar's office.
No red flags.
And he was my roommate. And so God knew that, you know, he needed someone a little nutty like me and a musician, you know, and I was clean then. And so we just had a great time together, and he's since become a missionary and a pastor back in Ohio, and just a good guy. I want him to come out to do Blessing of the Bikes, because he could tell some crazy stories about heavy metal and the Ozzy Osbourne days and all that stuff. You know, so he was the main guy for the Bark at the Moon tour. If you remember back then, that was when Ozzy was just going big goth. You know, it was all goth metal stuff back then. Yeah. So
he did announce his last shows.
He did. I saw that.
Pretty surreal.
You know how that is. It's like Muhammad Ali. You know, he's gonna
R.I.P.
He'll just
Ali.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But he'll just keep going. You know. You know, he feels poorly now, and so that's, you know, there's always the final tour. But, you know, I think, you know, it's Ozzy Osbourne's one of those kind of people that's there's no off on that crazy switch, you know,
no off,
and so he'll die with his boots on. You know, he's going to be one of those kind of guys that, well, it'll be probably a motorcycle accident or a 4-wheeler, or he ran the car into the garage, or did like something.
But it's terrible,
horrifying.
It's incredible that when the spotlight is on him, all that stuff disappears.
Yeah.
He can perform like I have never seen before.
He loves singing. He loves the audience.
He would literally be shaking with a cane, like backstage, mumbling.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the lights go out. It's time for him to shine. Cane's gone.
Turns
That's gone. Everything's up.
Yep.
And it's just like, whoa.
That's the adrenaline right there.
It's phenomenal.
That's the adrenaline.
It's incredible to see. I witnessed it one time at Jones Beach. I was like, this is wild.
Yep. And he's a musical genius there.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he certainly has a...
he knows what people don't.
Right.
Yeah.
He has an affinity. His voice goes where you want it to go when you're listening to it. Mm-hmm. And the pure joy that he has when he's shouting and singing and just getting the audience riled up, you know? Yeah.
Man, I wish that's what we got to do next. Our next thing. I want to play in front of 25,000. So let's make that happen.
But I would love to do a Jesus Taxi festival of music. You know?
Let's do it.
Because you and I love all styles of music. I like punk rock. I love heavy metal. I like straight up, you know, like top rock, for, you know, radio rock. I love country. I love bluegrass. I love gospel. I love black gospel, Southern gospel. Like, we could do a festival of 3 days long of just all of our favorite tunes, you know?
It would be great. We could bring New Orleans Jazz Fest to Castle Rock.
Exactly.
It would be amazing.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Well, can you believe we're already at 53 minutes? We've been talking for a while.
Thank you enough.
And you know, I'll cut some of this down for Christian television if we use it. But anything that you want to just share or talk about? I know Back to Basics is something that we are going to be doing just after the taping of the show, but hopefully in the years to come, we'll do it more and more. Should we talk about Back to Basics a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what it is? It's just a group of people who are trying to do something different, coming together and celebrating life. And for me, my first experience with it was I stopped doing everything in September of 2007. I lived in the desert. There was nothing going on. I was sleeping in my car at one point. I was sleeping on the floor of people's homes. I loved going to shows. There was no shows around. All my friends had left. I remember they went to a concert in Atlanta that year. I couldn't go. I didn't have any money. I couldn't afford it. I was just so happy to be alive at that point.
Yeah.
That I remember that night, it was the New Year's. I moved into my friend's floor, right?
Yeah.
7 days later, there was this workshop that was going on, and the person that was helping me through this program said, go attend it. And I said, all right, let's go. I walked in there at 9 a.m. I knew nothing about it, just that you go through the 12 steps in a day.
Yeah.
Knew nothing about it at all. I walked in there. People were smiling. laughing. There was music. I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
Right. And I was just like, I'm in. Whatever this is, I want.
Yeah. And you've done back to basics all over the place.
Well, yeah. Well, what happened that day is the person who guided me there was unavailable to assist me through it. So I had to just pick someone who was over there. And it just happened to have been Wally P., who was the originator of Back to
Who
Basics,
wrote the book.
Who not only just wrote the book, but is the archivist, is the person who was around it. And all I had at that point was literally like 2 Jerry Garcia shirts and a bag of clothes. And I was wearing one of my Jerry Garcia shirts. One was green and one was blue.
I have a Jerry Garcia tie upstairs.
Yeah. So. Well, I got paired with him, and here I was thinking I was going with this rock star. And he's like, yo, man, you like the Grateful Dead? And I'm like, yeah. And then he shows me the back of his tie. It's a Jerry Garcia tie. He's like, dude, I've seen him like 200 times. And I'm like, awesome. We have been friends ever since. We have gone through the steps together. We have worked inside the program. But the cool thing is we've been doing the Back to Basics workshops throughout the United States. And I remember he takes them throughout the world.
Yeah.
You know, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work in these groups on weekends, recovery centers. Every Monday night, we would bring them into places. We'd do them in sober livings. We would even do them with just people in our home group, just 3 or 4 of us sitting around the table.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable to see the change that happens in people almost instantly, because it doesn't separate anyone from getting from step 1 to step 12.
Right.
I just happened to be with Wally P., and he is great, total attraction rather than promotion.
Right.
And before I knew it, I was on my step 9 journey, right? And I didn't know what hit me, but he told me how to have fun in it, right? So it was like when I was doing step 9, it took me like 6 weeks because I had no money, but I went to like 2 Ryan's Adams shows making amends. I went up and saw Phil Lesh's Mardi Gras concert up in San Francisco. I flew back to the East Coast and spent like 2 weeks on the East Coast. I got to watch the Giants Super Bowl parade, right? We turned it into something fun.
Right.
But the whole time I was checking in with him, going to meetings, meeting with people, never saying sorry, but letting them know how I've changed and that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And then going back and doing it all again the next day, right?
Yeah.
And ever since then, I haven't had any need, urge, or feel or want or desire. And I don't know if I am. I just keep doing what I'm doing back then. But, it's been a real gift to be able to see it happen in other people. And that's why I love doing it.
Yeah.
And bringing it to
I do too. I'm after 6 years now of nearly 6 years of being completely free from any obsession to drink alcohol. I don't have to go to recovery meetings. I go because I want to go.
Yeah,
I go because I get so much out of it. And it's like, I always feel better having walked out of one of those meetings. And I love watching the newcomer recover. It's just amazing.
It's an experience we may not miss. We may not want to miss, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what works and what doesn't work. So like you, I see you every morning.
Right.
What are we doing? We're in a meeting together for an hour talking about how can we be better people today.
That's right. That's right.
And, and then we try it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we just brush ourselves off, come back again the next day and try again.
That's right. And friendships just get deeper and deeper.
Yeah. It's really remarkable to think people who generally would not mix like this. Like exactly. I can't relate to any of your stories that you have with the churches but here we are.
Yep.
Fast friends.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this together for years now.
Music lovers for sure.
Like it's just been awesome, right?
Totally awesome. Completely awesome.
Yeah. It's great because it all revolves for me around God presence in the lives, right? Like I see people out there who are still not drinking, not using, but like conceptualize it, and you could feel it, right? You could feel that it's just like the getting through the day as compared to enjoying the day.
Right. For sure.
So it's like some come to laugh, they're passed away, and others come to make it just one more day.
That's right.
That's a great Grateful Dead line, by the way.
I'm not familiar with all of them.
Well, rest in peace, Phil Lesh. I love you, buddy.
Right? Yeah, they have a Lifetime Achievement Award and all that stuff lately. Yeah, it's been amazing. So well, nice. Jason, I appreciate it. I'm just gonna say, go to a local 12-step meeting if you're unfamiliar. If you've struggled with drugs and alcohol, like Jason and I have, there are people who've gone through the exact same things that you have, and I know that you can recover. And man, it's been an amazing hour together, Jason, and I'm glad that we were able to do this together. So I'm gonna sign off here, and we'll see many of you in an upcoming meeting, I'm sure. Take care. God bless.
You're the reason why the sun keeps going up and down every day.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching the Jesus Taxi Show today. Before we sign off, I want to invite you to start a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's as simple as telling God you're sorry for the things you've done, thanking him for sending Jesus to die on the cross for your sins, and then asking him to come in. It's a prayer I call STP. Sorry, thank you, please. Will you pray the prayer with me? If you're ready to receive Christ and let him be the Lord of your life, to take over your life and to be your best friend, to be the one who calls the shots in your life, pray this prayer. Say these words. Pray after me. Say, Dear Jesus, I'm sorry for my sin. Thank you for dying on the cross for me. I believe God raised you from the dead, according to the scriptures. Please come into my heart. Forgive me of my sin. Be the Lord of my life. I want to follow you, Jesus, from this moment forward. In your name, amen. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you next time on the Jesus Taxi Show.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to the ministry of Summit Church and the daily outreach of Wayne Hanson. You could support our ministry in many ways. Visit mysummitchurch.com and click the red button that says Donate. You can also text your offering. Open your texting app and enter this phone number, 303-625-9434. In the message box, text the amount of your gift in dollars, then press send and follow the prompts that come through your texting app. There are no fees or extra charges related to giving by text, and 100% of what you give goes directly to the ministry. If you'd like to donate by crypto or other non-cash methods, please contact our ministry for more information about routing your gift. You can also support us by connecting with our online community. Comment, share, like, repost, and subscribe to stay up to date with what's happening at the church. Take care and have a great week. Remember, God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life.